Now, British officials say a minister misspoke when he announced a pause in the deal ceding control of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. It was announced last year that the UK would hand over the islands in the Indian Ocean, but pay Mauritius more than €100 million a year to retain control of the joint military base it shares with the United States. Last week, US President Donald Trump criticised the deal, having previously voiced his support for it. Let's get more from our correspondent, Birgit Maass, in London. Welcome, Birgit. So, is this leaseback deal going ahead?
The answer is we really don't know. There is a big confusion. Maybe just to step back a little bit and explain what this is. So Diego Garcia is a military base that's operated jointly by the US and by the UK. It's of high strategic importance because it's in the middle of the Indian Ocean, so really important for the US to basically be able to use it as a military base. Now, it's a British territory, but Mauritius has long argued that the islands actually belong to Mauritius, and there's been a lot of legal wrangling over these islands. Now, the UK government has argued that the best thing for them to do is to cede over the territory to Mauritius, to basically hand over the sovereignty to Mauritius, but then to lease the island back. So they are not selling the islands, but they are actually paying in order to be able to use it. As you said, over €100 million and pounds also a year, so that they can continue to operate this military base. Now, President Trump in the past has been sort of a little bit back and forth when it comes to his support for the deal. He had previously backed it, but now he has said it is a big mistake. So as a result, the British government seems to be wobbling, to say the least, as to whether they should go ahead with this deal. So one minister has said that there is actually a pause and it needs to be discussed again with the US, but then another government spokesman said, no, it's going to go ahead. So a lot of confusion, I would say a tad embarrassing for the UK government.
And is this because of Donald Trump? Regardless of what officials say, is this British decision being influenced by the whims of the American president?
I would say that really looks like a certainty. So it's a British decision, as you say, but then again, it's a base that's being operated jointly by the UK and the US. The US, for example, has used it for military operations in the war in Iraq and also in Afghanistan. So it's really important for the US to be able to use it. Now, the British government is arguing that actually the best bet in order to know for sure that they can use it in the future is to basically lease it back from Mauritius. They argue that there's so much legal uncertainty over these islands that if they don't hand over the sovereignty and then lease back the airbase, that basically that would be much more difficult than that. There would be sort of a legal limbo, and that international bodies, international courts could basically argue that it's not okay for British and the US to use these air bases, that, for example, China might somehow get a foothold. So they argue it's our best bet to do it this way. But obviously the US and President Trump, he has criticized it in the past. He's also backed it in the past, and most recently he said it was a big mistake and that he might need to use it for strikes against Iran. So he basically is not quite comfortable with what the UK are doing.
Thanks, Birgit. DW's Birgit Maass in London.